Hi everyone, how you all going? Welcome to my review of From the World of John Wick, Ballerina. Yes, it's a very long title. This is the fifth installment in the John Wick franchise, and it's the first theatrical spin-off of the John Wick franchise. There was also the Continental miniseries from 2023, which I wasn't personally a huge fan of. I do like Mel Gibson, but didn't like the miniseries. This movie was directed by Len Wiseman, who also directed the fourth Die Hard movie, Live Free or Die Hard, the remake of Total Recall. It's actually his first movie he's directed since the Total Recall remake from 2012. Excuse me, and stars Ana de Armas in the lead role as Eve Macaro. Now, right off the bat, I will talk about a few things I want to talk about. This movie was directed by Len Wiseman, however, it was actually meant to come out in 2024 originally, but it got pushed by a year to 2025. Reason being, apparently Lionsgate wasn't impressed with Len Wiseman's directing of the action scenes. And as a result, they actually brought in Chad Stahelski to direct a couple months worth of reshoots, hence why the movie got delayed by an entire year. Now, and after Len Wiseman, had directed the film, apparently the movie actually had some very poor test screenings, but again, why they brought in Chad Stahelski. Now, I enjoyed the movie a lot, okay? I really enjoyed the movie. The plot is pretty straightforward. Basically, it starts off with the prologue 12 years earlier. Eve and her father come under attack by these men at their home. And then basically, Eve, as a young child, she witnesses a man known as the Chancellor hold a gun to her father's head. And then she actually kills someone as a young child to save her father. Doesn't do much good because her father actually still dies. A bomb explodes. Her father gets killed. She then gets found by Winston, who takes her into the Ruska Roma, because we find out that her father was also Ruska Roma. He was actually an assassin for the Ruska Roma. So then she gets taken to the director of the Ruska Roma to undergo training and etc. Then we cut to 12 years later. She completes her Ruska Roma training. She becomes an assassin. But then basically she almost gets killed by a man with the same scar that was on the men who actually killed her father 12 years earlier. Then she goes after revenge against the Chancellor over her father's murder. Now, I'll start off with the pros. I really enjoyed the action scenes. The action scenes were very fast paced, very, very thrilling. A lot of gun fu, Eve stabbing multiple men. The grenade sequence halfway through the film in that gun shop was fantastic. The flamethrower battle was superb. It is showcased in the trailer as well. The flamethrower battle was fantastic, and to be honest, the trailer didn't actually show too much. The trailer does show her using a flamethrower, and then she ends up using a hose to actually deflect another flamethrower, which is wielded by, I think his name was Dex in the movie. He wields a flamethrower as well, so then she ends up getting a hose to actually deflect his flamethrower. The flamethrower sequence was superb. Excuse me. Yeah, the action sequences were fantastic. The grenade sequence, the flamethrower sequence. There's also a sequence where she strangles a man with her legs, and then she ends up shooting him dead. Yeah, but there are a lot of amazing action sequences in this movie. Cons of this movie: the story wasn't the best. It's pretty generic. I mean, I probably went into a bit more detail beforehand, but it's basically her father gets murdered, and then 12 years later, she goes after revenge against the men who killed her father. And the Chancellor who killed her father is actually revealed to be a leader of a cult who basically forces children into his cult. And along the way, she also meets Norman Reedus' character, Daniel Pine. We find out he's actually trying to protect his daughter from that same cult. So yeah, the plot was nothing to run home about. Also, another tiny gripe I had: the flamethrower sequence was fantastic. However, in that sequence, Eve doesn't actually kill the guy. I think his name was Dex. She doesn't actually kill the guy who she ends up going up against. He instead gets sniped from afar by John Wick. I wish his death could have actually been a bit more satisfying, personally. John Wick does show up in this movie as well, not for very long. He probably has maybe about 8 minutes worth of screen time. He appears quite early on in the film during the events of John Wick Chapter 3 Parabellum, and then he comes back towards the end because he actually gets assigned by the director to reason with Eve and potentially kill her if she fails to actually abandon her plan to kill the Chancellor, because her going after the Chancellor reignites a feud between the Ruska Roma and the Chancellor's cult. So, yeah, I think the guy that she goes up against with the flamethrower, I wish his death would have been a bit more satisfying. But overall, the action really delivered. Another tiny gripe we'll mention as well, the movie does take a little bit of time to get going. For the most part, it was pretty well paced, and as I've said a million times, had great action, great fight sequences, but I felt as well the movie took a bit of time to get going, probably like a good 15 or so minutes to actually get going. So I wish the start of the movie could have been a bit quicker, or maybe a little bit faster paced. The plot, again, nothing to run home about. At the same time, it is a John Wick movie. You don't really watch John Wick movies for the plot. And also, I wish Dex's death would have been a bit more satisfying. But other than that, the cinematography, the action, the score, Ana de Armas, all fantastic in the film. And a couple of interesting twists as well, or maybe not a lot of major twists. There was one twist I wasn't really expecting, which I quite enjoyed, and which is basically Eve finding out that the woman that's also hunting her is actually her sister, who she was taken from by her father from at a young age, basically. So we find out that the woman hunting her is actually her sister, and she's working for the Chancellor. But overall, I would give Ballerina probably about an 8.5 out of 10. On a scale of 1 to 5, a 4 out of 5. But yeah, the action really delivered. If you're a fan of action, if you're a fan of John Wick, you have to go watch this movie. It is a must-watch in theaters, not on streaming. It is a must-watch in theaters for fans of action. Now, I know in its opening weekend, the movie didn't do very, very well. Only made $24.5 million domestically in its opening weekend, which is, so compared to the other movies in the franchise, that's only higher than the very first John Wick movie from 2014 that made like 14 million domestically in its opening weekend. I hope the movie does have some decent legs at the box office, because the opening weekend was less than ideal, less than desired. So I hope it does have some legs at the box office. But overall, a must-watch in theaters for fans of action. Great performance by Ana de Armas. Good action, good set pieces, great cinematography, a few minor gripes here and there, but overall, an 8.5 out of 10. Go watch it, go support it. Have a very good day, guys, and all the best. Bye.